Good afternoon and good morning to anyone calling in the different time zone. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's a real honor to be included with these distinguished professors, attorneys, and other speakers that we've gotten here. It's a great group. I want to start off with a quote. An efficient and trusted mechanism by which employees can anonymously and confidentially report allegations of suspected or actual misconduct is a hallmark of a well-designed compliance program. This is from the United States Department of Justice's Criminal Division. They issued a report in June of 2020 titled Evaluation of Corporate Compliance Programs. So, as I was introduced, I am the Chief Ethics and Compliance Officer for Kroger. This talk is my personal beliefs only. I am not speaking on behalf of the company today. I am fairly opinionated about what I do, so I don't want to get in trouble with anyone there, back at the company. But I'm going to give my sort of view from someone who was in-house counsel for a company and is now the Chief Ethics and Compliance Officer. I've been in that role since 2011. So let's talk about whistleblower processes, hotlines, whatever you would like to call them, mechanisms from the company's perspective, or from the perspective of a person who is a Chief Ethics and Compliance Officer for a company. So you heard from the speakers before me why the governments are instituting whistleblower programs. I believe those outlets are needed, and I think they've been very successful, especially in the United States so far. Like as Paul mentioned, the SEC, which is just one governmental agency within the United States, reported recently for fiscal year 2022, after everything has been settled. It takes a while to get these reports out, but they paid out $229 million in 103 awards. That was the second highest since the program was started, and since the program's inception, it's given out 1.3 billion in 328 awards. That is a lot of money and a lot of really corruption, because the money wouldn't have been given out if they hadn't found that there was something really there. So while the government touts this as a success, I see it as a failure on behalf of organizations to be able to monitor themselves. Companies, we talk about companies, and I think a lot of people see it as just something that's just up there and has money, and we'll sue it every now and then to get something from it, that it owes us something. But I think of a company as not existing for individuals within the company or its executives, but it is an organization that has been set up, lawfully, and it exists for its stakeholders. Stakeholders can be investors and, 401, I'm sure all of you have some money invested, whether it's in a 401k or some, and if you don't, you will when you get out of school. But, we want to see those, investments grow. It also exists for its employees, which are also a stakeholder, customers, and even the communities in which these organizations sit, because there is, money that goes in taxes and other incentives, and companies generally want to be well liked within their community. So they will sponsor things, they will buy things. So company is not all bad. It's just an organization that needs governance. So, we also heard earlier how hard being a whistleblower can be on a person. Although it's sometimes financially beneficial, even those big numbers, when you actually sit down yourself and think, what if I was in the position of one of these people, what would I do? I think most of us say, yes, we would stand up and say something, but the risk is very, very large. And I think people deserve, if they had to go to that point and not followed internal processes, which is maybe where I'll differ from some. I think that they deserve what they can get from the process because they might not ever be employed again. They are under a lot of stress. They are providing, to answer the question that was up there earlier, they do provide benefits in the investigation and, may deserve to be compensated for that. Most whistleblowers do try to first address the problem within the organization, from my understanding, and they were unsuccessful. It's only after they have tried that many of them then will look for another outlet of what they can do. So they could have reported to their supervisor, they could have reported to HR, but for some reason it didn't get the attention that it deserved. So as the chief ethics and compliance officer, I want to preserve the capital of the corporation, and I don't want to be paying out large fines that are going to the government to fund its whistleblower program. I want to spend the money on the company, the shareholders, the stakeholders, the community, and we want to stop the actions of anyone within that company who is operating unethically or unlawfully. So in order to address this, you've got to have that efficient and trusted mechanism for employees to report internally. How do you go about doing that? Well, I've got 6 recommendations that we follow. First is proper administration. The reporting mechanism or hotline needs to be operated by an individual who has, or department with autonomy and authority. Those are 2 extremely important aspects that need to be part of a whistleblower program, in an internal one. So the department needs to be independent, and it needs to have authority to escalate matters to the highest level of the organization, not somewhere in the middle. It needs to be able to go straight to the top. At Kroger, the whistleblower hotline is managed by me and my department, the ethics and compliance department. Before I was in this role, it was managed by our internal audit department. Those are both good departments to manage. When it's managed within operations and reports might be regarding people above the people that are managing the hotline, then you can run into some problems. Second requirement is anonymity. A hotline can't be effective unless there is an option for anonymity, in Martha's opinion. It usually requires the right technology to be able to function in this manner. Usually you're going to want a third-party operator for the hotline, and you also need it to have the ability for a person to ask questions, for there to be some back and forth, because as you heard earlier, that's where, just giving minimal information without, details that someone might need in the process of an investigation doesn't work. So if you can write back and forth in that system, that is extremely helpful. And there are plenty of programs out there that allow you to do that. You also need to respect the reporter's right to remain anonymous, and always give anonymous reports the same amount of respect and attention as you would a report that comes in from someone that or who discloses their name. Number 3 is awareness. Employees need to know where to go to report issues of concerns, misconduct, that type of thing. So you could use regular reminders through methods such as posters, within training programs. When you train on your policy on business ethics, you put in there information on how to report if you see something. You can distribute the policy on a regular basis and mention in there how to report. Or as we do, we have an annual ethics survey, and it's where people will answer some questions and then also review the policy, and it states several times in there how to report. So all of these things can help improve awareness. Number 4, respond promptly to the reporter. We aim to acknowledge the initial report within 24 hours, and that's fairly standard among programs. You also need to actively monitor for communication and continue to respond promptly if they ask questions. And have real conversations with the reporter, whether it's anonymous or not. Number 5 is properly investigate the report. For that, you need to have the right person assigned to the matter. We have a process within our hotline system where the reporter categorizes their report and gives the general location of where they are. And by doing that, it's automated to get to certain people. So for example, if someone reports a food safety concern and they work in a certain division within our company, it will go to HR within their division. And it also goes to our head of food safety in the corporate office so that they can make sure they're also watching the report as it's going on, and they can assign someone from like a local person on their team to get involved as well. We also need oversight by the ethics and compliance team as the administrators of the hotline to make sure those cases are properly coded to begin with. So we've had some looking into some issues related to the pharmacies that are within our stores. So we always make sure that if it relates to a pharmacy and not a part outside the store, that it's also coded as pharmacy. So if somebody's not watching over that and people are just coding this themselves, there generally are going to be a lot of mistakes. And finally, ensure that your investigators are trained. You need to investigate in the right way. And I have learned, people just coming in new don't know how to, or they don't know your processes for investigating, and you want to make sure they're doing the right thing there. Finally, number 6 is follow up with the reporter once the investigation is complete and the situation has been addressed, or sometimes it's not addressed because you can't. Let the reporter know in as much detail as possible. You're going to want to work with the law department or your lawyer if you've got one involved on the case, because they're generally very conscious about what you say and don't say. But I always tell the people who are working on my reports to not forget to thank the reporter for coming forward. Even if you can't substantiate something, you can say, thank you very much for coming forward and trusting the process. We've, completed our investigation, and, sometimes you can say, and, action has been taken, but we are, going to keep that confidential, or, at this time, we're not able to take further action, but if something else comes up or you've got additional documents, please send those to us. So my belief is the more information you can give them, the less likely they'll feel like they have to go outside, and they know that you're taking the report seriously. And really, you do want to thank them, because we want this. This is how we find out about issues with people within the organization. So in conclusion, an effective internal whistleblower program, together with company culture that supports employees who raise concerns, benefits everyone. Company capital is preserved and is able to be distributed to investors to invest in the community. Customers can continue to receive the products and services they desire, and employees can work without fear of retaliation and with confidence that they can speak up and that they are working in an organization that they can be proud of. So that concludes my presentation.